Hey y'all, what's up? How's it going? I am Jaxident prone, and some might call me a little bit of a blues fan. I am a fan of the St. Louis Blues. Well, fan is probably putting it mildly. I was raised in a house, or at least by a dad, that is very into hockey. He was around when the team was first inducted into the NHL in 1967, and has been a fan ever since. And when he had two kids, he made sure that as soon as those kids knew how to say dada and mama, that they were going to start working on Let's Go Blues. That's exactly what happened. Let's Go Blues was my first full sentence, and I've been basically hooked ever since I could comprehend what hockey even was. Even when I transitioned, I named myself after a hockey player, specifically this one, Barrett Jackman, whose nickname was Jax. One of the longest tenured St. Louis Blues defensemen ever. And general badass and tough guy. So yeah, why wouldn't I want to name myself after him? When you really think about hockey, it's easy to see why it's such a beloved sport for, well, people like me in general, people who have ADHD. Because it's very fast-paced. Anything can happen at any time. It is a bunch of dudes on a cold, hard surface with razor blades attached to their feet, very minimal padding in comparison to like a football player. And they are shooting these thick, hard, vulcanized rubber discs at each other. Like, they are shooting them at each other with nothing but sticks, and sometimes they just fight. They just drop the gloves and fight. And if there's one thing I know America loves, it's a good fight. That's why we all read comic books, right? That's why we all love superheroes, or at least that's what Stan Lee was thinking back in 2011 when he approached the NHL with the Guardian Project. Now, the Guardian Project centers around 15-year-old Mike Mason because, as we all know, Stan Lee absolutely loves alliterations. Mike is a big fan of hockey, and that is putting it mildly. That's coming from someone who once compiled an entire history of every single NHL team to ever exist from 1917 to the present. If I'm calling someone a big hockey fan, they're probably a big hockey fan. But instead of learning every single thing there is to know about every team to ever exist, Mike thought it would be fun to create original characters for each of the, at the time in 2011, 30 NHL teams. He decides to create unique superheroes and put them into kind of a Justice League of sorts, but based on hockey. And when Devin Dark, yes, that is the villain's name, Devin Dark. When Devin Dark comes to town, he brings his army of robots to basically take over the world? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But they decide it's time to take over the world. And that is when Mike's hockey OCs come to life to take Devin Dark on. And if that sounds familiar at all, that's probably because it's basically the plot of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Let's be honest. The NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman thought it would be a great way to grow the sport because back in 2011, the NHL was not really having a good time. They were having a lot of trouble getting young people into the game, and it showed. So when Stan came to them with this fresh new idea, they were like, that's a great idea. Let's go with this. Pardon me while I just fix my wardrobe. The NHL loved this, and they were like, you know what? This is going to be great. We're going to introduce one of each of these 30 superheroes all throughout the month of January, one a day, up until the 30th. And on the 30th of January, that was when they did the NHL All-Star Game in Raleigh, North Carolina. And that was when Stan Lee did his presentation of the Guardians to the public during intermission. And we will watch that video, we'll react to it, I'll even put a link to it in the description so you can show the OP of it some love, because they made this so much easier on me. And we'll also look at each of the individual heroes and their powers as well. So that will be a treat.
Guardians. 30 seconds. 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 it's my great pleasure to introduce you to the NHL Guardian.
Stan, he looked so excited there. He did his little arm pump, like he was trying not to say Excelsior.
Expert, the Toronto Maple Leafs, our big...
Is that just fucking Groot? That's just fucking Groot in a Maple Leafs jersey. Is that a fucking furry on my good Christian NHL Marvel crossover?
Canadian, our MVP, makes all of the Guardians around him better.
How though? Like, what does he do? Like, does he just send out good vibes?
Welcome to the main attraction. Me, Devin Dog.
I can't tell if this is a shameless ripoff of Darth Vader or a shameless ripoff of the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, or a shameless ripoff of every villain to ever exist.
So, let's go fishing for some guardians, shall we? You, my little minnows, are the bait.
Now, I've seen some overdramatic villains in my time. Don't get me wrong. But good lord. This guy, for not having a visible mouth, is really chewing the scenery. Bruh. Is that the St. Louis Blue? He's got a saxophone. He looks like a combination of the Grim Reaper and Hades. That's kind of badass, I'm not gonna lie. I do the slow-mo superhero walk. Got to. Oh! The Jersey Devil! I love that they didn't, like, go with, like, a devil, and they actually went with the Jersey Devil cryptid. Like, chef's kiss. You did something right besides the blue. The cheap CGI arena is sucking in the cheap CGI superheroes. Oh my god. This is almost on par with the birds from Birdemic.
Looks like your little superheroes aren't so super after all. And now, it's time to cut bait.
We're in North Carolina, so that means...
The hurricane!
superhero landing!
It looks like the hurricane has saved you. For now.
He saved you by blowing wind.
But I know the secret identity of the Guardian's leader, Mr. Mike Mason. Come and get me, boy.
GuardianProject30.com. I'm pretty sure that no longer exists. So that was a lot. Now that we've gotten that little taste of the Guardians, let's go over what happened afterwards. So after that presentation was made, Stan noticed that there was some mixed reviews, and that's being generous. But nevertheless, despite these mixed reviews, he did continue to create Guardian Media Entertainment, which was essentially a distribution company for all things related to the intellectual property, whether it was going to be comic books, animated series, movies, things like that. But December rolled around, and by that point, the Guardian Project was essentially dead in the water. Stan was moving on to bigger and better things like Thor and Iron Man 2 and the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Stan just kind of left it dead in the water, and the NHL just never really... Not only did they not pick back up on it, they wanted it dead. They want it dead and buried, but here I am to bring it back into the light and remind NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman of one of the dumbest things he's ever done. So, now that we have gone over the history of the Guardians and we've seen that presentation, if you can call it that, let's go ahead and take a look at the Guardians themselves, and we'll go over their individual powers as well. So here we have the Anaheim Duck, rebel with a trust fund, amphibious protector of the Southern California coast, and we can kind of see that he has long, flowing golden hair, like a typical California boy. He's got webbed fingers and a harpoon, and a hover surfboard. He kind of reminds me of if Batman and Darkwing Duck had a baby, and I don't know if I'm here for it or not. The Atlanta Thrasher, the consummate Southern gentleman, military man, fastest member of the Guardian Air Force. This dude, is he supposed to be like the Falcon? I guess? I feel like that helmet does not offer a lot of face protection, and if he were to fall on his face into concrete, that would be no good. And here we have every furry's dream, the Boston Bruin, the Beantown Brute. Intelligence borders on precognition, and his roar causes petrification. So basically, he can kind of predict the future, but also kick your ass. So if Garnet was a bear, then we've got the Buffalo Saber. Human hydroelectric plant manipulates water in all of its forms from liquid, solid, and gaseous. So he can control water. Oh yeah, I guess they're not too far from Niagara Falls, aren't they? Yeah, that makes sense. Nevertheless, kind of a boring superpower for a boring superhero for a boring team. Sorry, Sabres fans. The Calgary Flame controls the element of fire, flaming eye blasts, lava balls from his fingers, and can even create a flaming stampede. So this dude is basically the Human Torch with fiery butterfly wings. I'm into it, I think. I don't know. Then we've got the Carolina Hurricane, who we already saw. We saw him save the day by blowing wind. Barometric nightmare with a personality as wild as the weather patterns he commands. So he's a party boy that can make wind. The Chicago Blackhawk, big-shouldered friend of the Windy City, controls the element of wind. And I guess they went with like a Blackhawk helicopter design, which is kind of badass, and I honestly kind of wish that the Chicago Blackhawks team would adapt something like that for their logo instead of a racist caricature of a Native American. But the NHL don't want to talk about that. The Colorado Avalanche, the Rocky Mountain Madman, unbridled risk-taker, who controls the elements of ice and rock. So he is basically Mr. Freeze. Rocky Mountain Madman. He's got the Mr. Freeze helmet, the blue skin, Columbus Blue Jacket. Serious-minded Union soldier, has a devastating array of weaponry at his disposal. So I'm imagining that, like, the ghost of a Union soldier possessed Optimus Prime and made the Columbus Blue Jacket. The Dallas Star, a celestial enforcer of the Texas Plains, travels on a solar wind and can manipulate magnetic tension fields. Okay. Don't know what that has to do with the city of Dallas or the Stars. The Detroit Red Wing, another Optimus Prime, automotive empath of the Motor City, all the power of a Formula One race and an F-14. And we can see he's got little wheels on his feet and jet propulsion, so they're really leaning into the winged wheel logo. Then we've got the Edmonton Oiler, who is essentially, he looks like the Juggernaut. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! The roughneck protector of the Great White North controls wintry weather patterns and oil manipulation. The way that he's just shooting out this, black oil just kind of reminds me of Finding Nemo. Aw, you guys made me ink! Florida Panther. That's literally just the Black Panther with a cape. A fun-loving denizen of the Florida Everglades, controls the element of shadow and dark matter. What? How do you control dark matter? I am genuinely curious about this. Los Angeles King, a regal ambassador of the City of Angels, has a shield that creates force fields and a sword that causes earthquakes. So this is a king that is based on, I guess, when kings would actually go into battle instead of just ordering people to do it. 'Cause that was a long time ago, honey. The Minnesota Wild. An uncontrollable force of nature, whirling dervish of destruction, controls celestial incinerators from his hands. So he kind of looks like he's got the Iron Man 2 hands, you know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. I'll post a picture. What animal even is this? Is this another bear? Is it a wolverine? I am genuinely confused as to what this thing is. Then we've got the Montreal Canadien, legendary protector of Quebec, controls power absorption and magnification. So I guess that's what Stan meant by makes all the other Guardians around him better. I guess he magnifies and amplifies their powers. And I cast Bardic Inspiration. Ooh. Hey y'all, Editing Jax here. So the article that I was going off of left one of the teams and their Guardian off. So I'm going to put them right here where they go in the alphabetical order. So that was the Nashville Predator, and we'll take a look at him real quick. So the Predator's entry says, Titanium Music City Supercat has titanium claws that rip through steel and spits radioactive plasma. So he is essentially a combination of Beast and Colossus from X-Men. And yeah, he looks kind of cool. He's got cool metal claws. So I guess he's also a little bit Wolverine. Cool. I guess there's a reason I forgot him. Sorry, Nashville. New Jersey Devil. I genuinely love this design, but I'm also a fan of the idea of cryptid-based superheroes, and I would love to see a comic of Mothman just kicking some ass. I would love to see this New Jersey Devil team up with the Mothman, the Loch Ness Monster, Momo the Monster, which is Missouri's resident cryptid. Fun fact, we do have one of those. I would love to see a Justice League / Avengers of cryptids. Is that too much to ask? Underworld Maverick of the Garden State has infrared vision, flaming breath, and is a master matter manipulator. Dan is really a fan of having these Guardians manipulate matter for some reason. The New York Islander, the resident guardian marine, equally devastating on sea and land, controls ocean currents. I'm kind of sad that they didn't model it off of the old, 1990s Islanders logo where he was a fisherman, but I guess making him a marine / gladiator is kind of cool too. The New York Ranger. Futuristic Manhattan crime fighter, an innovative machinist, he controls a variety of destructive weapons. So he looks kind of like Captain America. He drives a motorcycle like Captain America. He has a shield like Captain America. He's red, white, and blue like Captain America. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's Captain America. The Ottawa Senator. Half man, half god, all superhero. That's literally Thor, dude. That's literally verbatim the definite, that's Thor! Stan, you didn't even try! Like, some of these you could at least argue aren't 100% ripoffs of your IP, but this is Thor! The Philadelphia Flyer, the punishing warrior of Broad Street, a master of telekinesis and mind control with a granite chin. I don't even know what to make of this guy. He looks a little bit like if Lex Luthor and Icarus had a baby. And I mean that as... I don't know what I mean that as. The Phoenix Coyote... The farther down the line we go, the more shameless the copy and pastes get. We already had Thor, we already had Captain America, and now we've got Wolverine. Mysterious drifter of the American desert manipulates element of sand and controls a pack of coyotes. But design-wise, look at this man and tell me that is not Logan. The Pittsburgh Penguin, the gritty young savior of the Steel City, can project ice missiles from his hands and travels on a frozen ice sheet. This is literally Frozone. Stan Lee sat down, watched the movie The Incredibles, saw Frozone, and thought, that's it. That's my Pittsburgh Penguins superhero. San Jose Shark. This is Shark Boy. As much as I thought this plot was Shark Boy and Lava Girl, that's Shark Boy. A technological genius and software empath. How can you be a software empath? What? Controls an army of sharks to assist him in battle. We've got a lot, like, if they're not manipulating matter, they've got an army of an animal ready to do their bidding, and I think that's pretty cool. I guess. There we go, that's my boy, the St. Louis Blue, a master musician, controls the element of sound using it for mind control, interdimensional teleportation expert. This is the most original character on here, and I'm not just... Looking at me, it's going to be easy to say that I'm biased, and I may very well be. But this is the most original one on here. Anyway, I love this guy. I want a poster of him on my wall. The Tampa Bay Lightning, a bold brazen lightning rod of the Florida Gulf Coast, controls the element of electricity. He's even got a mohawk, like a lightning bolt mohawk. This is kind of like a lightning-based Silver Surfer, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm not gonna lie, the mohawk is kind of sick. A lightning bolt mohawk would rock. The Toronto Maple Leaf is, I'm pretty sure I already said it, but this is literally just Groot. This is Groot. A giant walking and talking maple tree, an immovable object that can grow exponentially larger at will. Say it with me. I am Groot. The Vancouver Canuck, the resident guardian sage, controls the element of rain and uses focused sonar blasts as weapons. So he's basically if Batman were an orca. Like, that's not even subtle. The cowl, the jaw, the cape, that is... Stan, that's not subtle. The Washington Capitol. This is Donald Trump's persona. The winged crusader of the nation's capital, a shapeshifter who controls a sonic scream and telescopic sight. Why is it an eagle man with arms, legs, and wings? The furries have gone too far. And on that lovely note, those are all of the NHL Guardians, the story behind them. Quite frankly, believe it or not, this is not my only nerdy hockey topic that we have to delve into. I'll save this one for another video, but at one point in time, McDonald's in St. Louis were giving out a series of comics based on 1990s St. Louis Blues captain Brett Hull.
It's called The Golden Adventures of Brett Hull, and Brett Hull is sent to the year 2094 to help the futuristic St. Louis Blues win the Stanley Cup in a floating arena against a team of cyborgs.
But yes, this came out in 1994. They were sold at McDonald's for 99 cents each. So if you'd like me to talk about The Golden Adventures of Brett Hull in another video, go ahead and let me know in the comments. Because, let's be real, I would love to make this video. I had a lot of fun talking about the Guardians with y'all. And, yeah. Hopefully we can have some more fun talking about some more ridiculous things that the NHL has done in the future. But in the meantime, thanks for joining me today. I am Jaxident Prone. I'll see you later. Oh, before I leave, remember to subscribe, like the video, comment if you want to, but, you know, I'm still pretty new at this. I've got 19 subscribers right now, so, you know, not a lot, but I have fun doing this. At some point, I'd like to make it a full-time career, so every little bit helps. Yeah, I'll see y'all later.